We've just travelled from Oban to Craignewer on the Isle of Mull, the Isle of Mull. It's taken about an hour to cross over courtesy of Caledonian McBrain, and since it's about 7:30 in the evening, we're heading straight to our campsite. And this will be home for the next couple of days. Salin Bay campsite, a relatively new site but superbly situated just outside the village of Salin, about 50 miles south of Tobermory, the island's main town. On a promontory above Salin Bay, the campsite has sea views on 3 sides. Facilities are excellent, with a good wash-up area next to a hut called the Bothy, complete with a freezer and laundry facilities, washing machines, and to Gina's delight, a tumble dryer. Next door are spotless showers and toilet facilities, and close by the black waste disposal point. And if you want some exercise without having to drive anywhere, you can wander up into the village for a beer at the hotel or a coffee at the excellent cafe, or simply take a stroll round the coastal path that circles the campsite. Before we went anywhere else in Mull, we had to visit Tobermory, if for no other reason that we had to stock up on supplies for the next few days at the supermarket there. Where we were going, supermarkets were in short supply. Now, Tobermory is home to BBC Scotland's children's show Balamory, and immediately you can enjoy the town's kind of otherworldly feel. It's amazing what a bit of colour can do to a place. And I was delighted to come across a Himalayan craft fair. Bearing in mind I'm patron of a Nepalese charity that raises money for Sherpa guides and porters, I always like to support these fairs. We spent a few hours here soaking up the colourful Hebridean feel of the place. Strung around the curve of Tobermory Bay, there's no doubt that Tobermory has its roots deep in Hebridean and Celtic culture. But we hadn't come to Mull to wander around towns. We wanted to get away from it all, and to do that, there's nowhere finer than Calgary Bay. Yep, you've guessed it. The Canadian city of Calgary in Alberta, once known as Fort Calgary, was named after this tiny hamlet in northwest Mull. The name comes from the Gaelic and it means beach of the meadow, And what a magnificent beach it is, separated from the road by a wide stretch of macher. The little air here at Calgary Bay in northwest Mull is a real gem, I have to say. It's arranged by the local community, and there's basically two parts to it. There's one part which is essentially a car park where larger campervans and motorhomes can spend the night, and at the other end of the bay there's a much smaller, basically a field for tent campers and small campervans like Volkswagens and that sort of size, and it's a very tight entrance. I watched a couple of Fiat Ducato size campervans try and squeeze in there, but both of them thought better of it and reversed out and went off to the other one. So it's very peaceful, very, very quiet. It's beautiful, and there's toilets at the secondary campsite. The community is doing a great job here for campers and campervanners, and it really is an idyllic little spot here in Mull, especially when the sun's shining like it is this morning. We've just had a very pleasant night here. Although it was cold, the seasons have turned. It's now very much into autumn, and maybe even late autumn. It was really, really chilly last night. I think the temperature went right down to zero. But we were quite cosy, and particularly in our nice new sleeping bags, which I'll tell you about later on. They've been great. So yeah, here we are at Calgary Bay on the Isle of Mull, and today we're going to head down to a little village called Fidden, where you get the ferry across to Iona. You might even take a little boat ride to the Isle of Staffa. That's Staffa of Fingal's Cave fame. It's rush hour in Mull. Standoff. Oh, well done.
Good boy.
Well done. You can't drive anywhere fast on the Isle of Mull. The roads are predominantly single track, and natural obstacles aside, one of the roads we actually wanted to take was closed because of rockfall. But no matter. The road we did take to Fidden took us round the south and east side of Mull's highest mountain, Ben More, and that was pretty impressive. We spent a couple of nights here at Fidden Farm, about a mile outside the ferry port of Fidden. The Fidden Farm has all the facilities you need with the exception of electric hookups, and it costs £12 per person per night, a real bonus if you're a single campervanner. But best of all, this campsite lies right on the rocky shores of the Sound of Iona, a delectable spot above the beach and the skerries with views across the Sound to Iona itself. I can well understand why Fidden Farm is so popular with campervanners. And can there be anything finer than waking up to a perfect morning and enjoying your breakfast out in the sunshine? It's a perfect preparation for the mile-long walk into Fidden and the ferry to the holy island of Iona. St Columba, or common seal, arrived here on Iona from Ulster around 563 AD, and it was here he founded the Abbey as a base for spreading Celtic Christianity throughout the northern Pictish kingdoms. The Abbey was a centre of Celtic monasticism for 300 years, and today is home to the Iona community, an ecumenical Christian organisation. It's an extraordinary place, a centre for peace and spirituality.
Sadly, we didn't make it to Staffa and Finkel's Cave. The weather suddenly disintegrated. One of the boats didn't run and the other was fully booked. So we simply cut our losses and came home. We'd had a wonderful time in Mull, and visiting Staffa will be an excuse to return as soon as possible. Now, I mentioned earlier that we were trying out a couple of new sleeping bags on this trip. Ones that I think are admirably suited to campervan life. Over the years, we've experimented with duvet quilts, backpacking sleeping bags, mountaineering sleeping bags, cheap sleeping bags, and expensive sleeping bags, expensive down-filled sleeping bags. So what have we been looking for? Well, basically comfort, compressibility, and warmth. I think are the three factors that make a good sleeping bag. We gave up on quilts because, well, one, you need to carry a sheet to put below you, and two, Gina usually ended up with most of the quilt on her side. If you're a solo traveller, you wouldn't have that issue, of course, but for us it was a bit of an issue. Now, down-filled backpacking sleeping bags are great in that they're very, very compressible, very lightweight, they're warm, but not always that comfortable. Sleeping in a van is usually warmer than sleeping in a tent or in a bivvy. And I find that if my legs and feet get too hot, I don't sleep well. So I'm looking for a full-length zip in my sleeping bag so my feet can escape from the bag on warmer nights and cool down just a wee bit. And I found over the past few years that sleeping bag manufacturers have kind of got into the habit of designing bags with either short side zips or 3/4 length side zips in an attempt to keep the weight down. Also, these lightweight bags tend to be kind of form-hugging, fairly tight around the body so that heat from your body doesn't escape. And again, to save weight. And if you're not shaped like a racing snake, they can feel a wee bit tight and restrictive. That's been my experience anyway. So when a company called KingCamp asked me to try out their Freespace 250 sleeping bag, I had a look at them and I thought they were as close as I'd yet seen to the ideal campervan sleeping bag. Now, these KingCamp bags are not made for backpackers or lightweight enthusiasts. They're fairly heavy. They're 1.7 kg in weight, which is too heavy to carry. But of course, that doesn't matter when you're carrying them in a campervan. They're also a little bit on the bulky side, but the stuff sack does have compression straps, so you can clinch it down to a fairly acceptable size. But for me, the selling point of these KingCamp sleeping bags is threefold. One, they not only have full-length side zips, but you can completely unzip the bags to create a great big blanket, ideal for warmer nights. Two, they're huge. No form hugging here. This is a sleeping bag you can move around in. There's absolutely no body constriction. And three, and what I like most, the inner is made of cotton flannel, that lovely, soft and warm to the touch flannelette that your granny's bed sheets used to be made of years ago. And as soon as you slide into these bags, you feel warm and comfortable with none of that cold, clammy feel that you get from the island. They really do feel quite luxurious. The outer is made from polyester, diamond ripstop, and the lining, as I've mentioned, is cotton flannel. The filling is synthetic, hollow cotton fibres, so it'll still keep you warm if you get it wet. Unlike down, which of course just goes into soggy clumps when it meets water. The bags also have a neck collar, a zipper wind baffle, an adjustable drawstring hood, all detailed designs to provide better insulation for this flannel sleeping bag. And while the KingCamp Freespace 250 couldn't really be described as a technical sleeping bag, it's highly functional, extremely comfortable, reasonably compressible, and comes at a very competitive price, just under 60 quid, 59.99 or something. Now, on a Mull, we used these bags in temperatures that dropped down to zero, and we were very comfortable in them. And I'd say, for me at least, it would perform well in all but the very coldest of winter conditions. The manufacturers recommend a temperature range of between 6 and 12 degrees with an extreme temperature rating of -8. So there you have it. I'll put the details in the video information down below, as well as the details of the places we stayed on Mull. Finally, if you've enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing to the channel. I'd really appreciate that. And if you could hit that like button, that would be absolutely great. So that's it. Get out there, enjoy what's left of the autumn. It's a marvellous time of the year. Enjoy your campervan, stay safe, and I'll catch up with you next time. Bye for now.